This next segment contains very important information for all site volunteers. No matter what shift you work, this information will help you understand the rules and roles that make BEDS volunteers work together successfully each night of the week.
This portion of the training will take about 10 minutes. The points we will discuss in this section can also be found in detail in your volunteer manual. As a site volunteer, you are expected to know, understand, and abide by all of these guidelines.
Before unlocking the shelter door for clients at 7 p.m., site volunteers should always verify that the phone is working by calling the local police to notify them that the shelter is open for the night. The police number should be listed adjacent to the phone in the kitchen at each site. Store all volunteers' personal belongings in the designated area. Find a secure area in the kitchen for your valuables and coats. Set up the men's and women's sleeping areas. Males under 12 years old may sleep with their mothers. Ask your site coordinator for directions if needed. Set out pads and boxes and clean linens. Set up tables and chairs for dinner. Get out all necessary supplies for the evening. Prepare disinfectant solution, which is used for cleaning tables, pads, and surfaces. Receive food and instructions from the cooks.
Greeting clients, the registration and client intake process. Each night, at least one volunteer must sit at the registration desk to greet and sign in clients. No one may be admitted to the shelter without a BEDS ID card or without completing the intake process. Ask your site coordinator or a case manager for help if you are unsure of this process. Record each client's BED ID number on the registration sheet. Have new clients complete the intake form and shelter agreement. Give each new client a copy of the BEDS brochure. Introduce each new client to the case manager on duty. After completing the intake interview with the case manager, each new client will be issued a BEDS ID. The designated volunteer will then record the new client's name and ID number on the registration form. Volunteers should also help orient new clients to the site by showing them where to find pads, boxes, linens, designated sleeping areas, restrooms, and the dining area.
Special possessions. If a client requests to store special possessions for safekeeping, provide the client with a valuables receipt and keep a copy of the receipt with the shift log. Label the item or items with the client's name. Store the items in a designated area in the kitchen, which is off limits to all clients, and note the stored items on the shift log so that other volunteers are informed.
Evening food service. Dinner is served at 7:30 p.m. by the site volunteers. Please remember to always wear disposable plastic gloves when handling food. Go ahead and serve food in generous portions. However, second helpings, if available, may not be served until 8 p.m. Anyone arriving after 8:30 p.m. will not be served until breakfast. However, dessert items may be left out until 9:30 p.m. and are available to all. If a client has an approved late arrival and will need dinner, your site coordinator or a case manager will inform the volunteers of this person at the beginning of the first shift.
Entertainment and bedtime procedures. After dinner, volunteers are encouraged to visit, play cards or board games, or enjoy TV with our clients. To ensure a good night's rest, lights are turned out in the sleeping area by 10 p.m., and the TV is kept on low volume until it is turned off for the night at 11 p.m.
Late arrival forms. Late arrival forms are bright orange documents issued by case managers only. Clients arriving after 9 p.m. are not allowed in the site. However, BEDS Plus case managers may issue a late arrival form to individuals with a night job or other authorized reasons for arriving after 9. If checking in a late arrival, please be sure to check the expiration date and arrival time. Also note the arrival time on the shift report.
Monitoring. During the second and third shifts, monitoring of the site is the most important duty of each volunteer. At night, when clients are sleeping, BEDS volunteers watch over and ensure the safety of each client. When monitoring, remember that all areas in the shelter need to be checked regularly, both the sleeping areas and the bathrooms. Sleeping areas must never be shut off by closed doors. Be as quiet as possible when making rounds during sleeping hours. During the first shift, 2 outdoor smoking breaks are allowed at 8:15 and 9:15, but must be fully monitored by a volunteer. Of course, buildings and bathrooms are always non-smoking areas.
Wake up and breakfast. Third and fourth shift volunteers are responsible for waking up clients at 5:45 a.m., making breakfast, cleaning up, and gathering laundry. Here are the key points to remember during these times. No TV is allowed before 5:45 a.m. Volunteers should start to awaken clients at 5:45. Breakfast is prepared and served by the third and fourth shift volunteers. Volunteers should serve breakfast between 5:45 to 6:30 after clients deposit their used linens in their laundry bags and clean their own pads with disinfectant solutions. Clients must leave the site no later than 7 a.m. Volunteers should then check the entire site, including all restrooms, to make sure everyone has left. Remember, volunteers may never provide transportation to clients.
Client telephone use. To safeguard privacy and security, clients should never be called to the phone, nor should anyone be told that a client is in the shelter. If a phone call is received for a client, take a message. If the client is in the shelter, you may relay the message. Remember, never give out information about clients. Local phone calls are allowed at some sites. Check with your site coordinator to see if your location allows this. A volunteer must dial the number and monitor the length of the call. Calls are limited to 3 minutes, to these local area codes only: 708-312-773-630 and 847. Clients' personal cell phones and pagers must be turned off in the shelter.
Smoking is never allowed in the shelter sites. Smoke breaks are allowed only in designated areas for 15 minutes at 8:15 and 9:15 p.m. Smoke breaks must be monitored by a volunteer. Please provide a can for cigarette butts and matches. There are no morning smoke breaks allowed at any of the sites. Clients may smoke after they have exited the premises for the day.
Emergency needs and medical care. As many BEDS volunteers know, from time to time, a medical situation or emergency may arise. During the first shift, when the staff nurse or another case manager is present, volunteers should alert one of these individuals to any issues or problems. On all other shifts, volunteers should remember these key points when faced with a medical situation. Every BEDS Plus site has a first aid kit with Band-Aids, antibacterial spray, and non-aspirin pain reliever. Please familiarize yourself with the location and contents of this kit. Volunteers may not dispense medication. Clients are allowed to self-administer their own prescription medications. Some clients may wish to check in their medications with the case manager or our staff nurse. This is optional. Volunteers are never to administer or dispense any medication. If emergency medical care is needed, call the local paramedics, 911, immediately. Be sure that a volunteer unlocks the doors and greets the paramedics when they arrive. Please note emergency medical information on the shift report and leave a message on the BEDS office answering machine, 708-354-0858, before your shift ends. It's vital that your fellow volunteers and your site coordinator are accurately informed about any medical issues that occur during your shift.
Cleanup. After dinner and in the morning, Volunteers need to follow the cleanup guidelines for their specific site. Remember, all areas used by Beds Plus, including the kitchen and bathrooms, must be cleaned up as per the instructions at each site. Ensure that clients clean their own bed pads with the disinfectant solution. Clients fold and return all blankets and pillows to the boxes. Clients place soiled linens, sheets, and towels in provided laundry bags. Once full, tie up the bags and put them in the designated areas for pickup. Volunteers place all pads and boxes in designated storage areas. All bed supplies are put away in designated storage areas. Any clothing items left behind are to be disposed of. Each site must be locked up according to its specific instructions. Finally, clothing. Beds does provide clothing vouchers for clients who need new coats, shoes, and other items. We partner with the Community Nurse Thrift Shop in LaGrange for this program. Clothing vouchers are only distributed by case managers during the first shift at each site. Remember, only case managers may issue clothing vouchers to clients in need. Beds Plus does not have storage space for clothing. Please donate any items you have to the Community Nurse Health Association Carousel Thrift Shop in LaGrange.